Welcome back to everybody, back to the Agent Box. Thanks for joining us. Was there a glitch just then?
Yeah, I think our producer is on to something.
Thank God you weren't doing anything weird like picking your nose or anything like that. You know what I mean?
I hope I was not.
Well, welcome to everybody. My name is Sham Ghani. With me is, as always, Abir, my co-host. It's great to have you guys here today. We're going to be talking about something a bit more relaxed, a little bit more creative, I think, today. But before we do that, Abir, tell me, man, how's your week been? What have you been up to? What's been going on?
Well, it's just that busy time of the year, trying to wrap up September, strategizing for January. The weekend was usual, cleaning, laundry, all that nonsense that I enjoy doing now. Now I live in the UK.
Exactly. You got to do everything yourself, man. That's how it works.
I was spoiled for a long time.
Again?
I was spoiled for a long time.
Yeah. Absolutely, man. Absolutely.
Now the reality hits me.
I tell you, I'm having a busy week as well, man. My weeks are flying by at the moment. I don't know. There's so many things that I'm juggling. It's just really a bit crazy. But
this morning I just realized it's Thursday already. I thought the week just started.
I know. But it's better than being bored. It's better than being bored at work. You know what I mean? That if you're busy, then that's good. It means you're having fun. Anyway, guys, okay, so today we want to talk about something which we all do. We do it all the time, I think, in today's reality as agents. Every agent around the world, no matter where they're working, they are creating content. They're creating content, and they're putting that content out for the world to consume. Okay, definitely we can say we are content creators. In fact, today I just reposted something on LinkedIn. I'm doing a few videos for Sam CRM, and we did a test one a few weeks ago, and it was it was quite good. It was like a talking head video, but it's made me think. It's making me think really hard about what's the best way to create content. How do we want to get our information out there? But Abir, what are your thoughts on it in general?
Well, to be honest, there are quite a few aspects to it. Like, first of all, there are quite a few stages, in my opinion, because when I used to do content creation, and even when I have the opportunity to do so, because you need to understand like what information we are trying to give and who are we giving that information to. So our languages needs to be adapted to my target audience and the information. And like before the show that we are talking, we can just give information. That's one way of doing it. Or we could approach it from a story point of view to relate to my target audience.
Well, you know what? Here's an interesting thing, right? Years and years ago, when I worked for a pathway provider, we did a big piece of work around personas. Okay. And the whole point of this was to actually understand who our customers are. Okay. So it was my first, kind of introduction to that kind of language, that kind of world. I've got to be honest with you, at that point, I wasn't very clear on. I'm almost certain I probably asked myself what a persona was. I didn't know. But what I soon realized was that, look, you know what? When you start digging deep into the type of student that you're trying to attract, and let's be honest, we're talking as agents, our key audience is always going to be students. Depends if we're working on a B2B platform, the key audience might be other agents. But let's assume for the sake of this discussion that actually we're talking to students. Understanding the student, I think we all think we know a student. Certainly I did. I'd had a very long career before I got to that point of having the discussion about personas. And I kind of assumed that I knew what a student was, my target audience was. What surprised me was when you start doing a deep dive into this, you figure out actually there's lots of different nuances that, my students in my market take various different shapes and sizes. They have various different motivations, various different outcomes that they're looking for, different ways that they make decisions, lots of different nuances. And we can't, this is what came out of this training that we did, that you can't assume that the message, you're right, that the message you're trying to get out is going to be the same message and everybody's going to get it the same way. And this is interesting. But you know what, Abir, let me ask you, right? You've done a lot of work B2C, talking to students, you've seen lots of different types of students. In your market, for example, I know that you worked, most of your career was in Bangladesh. In that market, how many different types of students do you think you've come across?
There are quite a few. I would say at least 3, 4 different target markets, and to my agent friends, this is very, very important to understand who your target market is and what content you are putting out there, how you are branding or positioning your brand in the market. If you put out languages like, bring your dependents to the UK, for example, I'm seeing a lot of these adverts nowadays. And to be honest, it makes me feel a bit cringy. Because if you are putting out messages like that, you are going to attract the wrong crowd. So the content creation, one is providing information, but also you need to be very, very careful what type of audience you're attracting.
Hang on. Let me stop you there, right? So let's say I'm an agent, right? My purpose for being at work is to earn a living through, student mobility. Just like an international office member of staff, they're making a living through recruiting students, right? My job is to, help them recruit, and that student mobility is what my whole, career is about. If the university has a program, and I think I know what you're talking about. We've talked about it before on the show. We're talking about the MRes programs, PhD programs where you can bring dependents. If the university has that program available, what is the problem in me saying that, yeah, you know what? You want to bring your family, you can go and do this particular course?
Well, it's very straightforward, isn't it? Because you are promoting the wrong message. If you are recruiting students for research programs, whether it be MRes or PhD or postdoc, whatever that might be, the key focus should be about the research portion of it, whether the student has the research ability and whether he sees himself through like in career, doing further research or building a career on this. It should not be about bringing your dependents.
So what you're talking about is the prioritizing of the information. That yes, there may be the ability for the student to bring their family, but that shouldn't be at the forefront of the messaging. Is that
Let me give you an example. For example, if I like someone and I want to get married, and you ask me, hey, why do you want to get married to this girl? And if I say, she is rich or her family is rich, that's why I want to get married. That's one way of putting it. Or I can say, she has this quality, that quality, she really understands me, we really vibe well. And as a cherry on top, they are rich as well.
That she's loaded as well. Yeah. That's a good point, man. That's a good point. Look, the reason why we're talking about this part of it, right? Because content creation is not just about, about output. It's not just about, put stuff on social media as often as I can in order for me to be visible in the market, in order for students to be able to see me. It's about getting because why is that not a good thing? Because you can get content blindness. Your audience can almost become blind to the content that you're producing because they can't relate to it. The first time they saw it, they thought it was interesting. After that, it's either just become really boring. I don't relate to it. It's not fun to look at. I see it and I get rid of it. Whereas engaging content is probably going to be something that actually people look forward to receiving.
Absolutely. And the first few seconds of your content, if it's a reel or a video, the first few seconds, or if it's like a static post, the first few headlines is where it matters the most, whether you're attracting the right crowd and whether you're engaging them, keeping that interest going on. So headlining or first few seconds or first few glimpses, we all know most of the times right now we're dealing with Gen Zs and we know how their attention span can be.
Yeah, unfortunately. you know what I'm thinking, right? So I see a lot of posts on LinkedIn, Facebook, Instagram, usual platforms, where a lot of agents are putting out, what their universities are doing, right? So, applications open for University X, where they've got this level of fees or scholarships or, their English language requirements, whatever it might be, okay? And there's a nice picture of the university in the background, and, it's repeated. It's over and over and over again that the various different universities that they're working with. And I guess what the agent is trying to show is that, look, I have lots of different options, and that might be the rationale behind doing this kind of post. What
Let
it
me
makes.
put you on the spot here.
Go on.
Sorry to
No,
interrupt
no,
you.
go ahead. Go
So
ahead.
you have been working in the industry for over 2 decades. So in your experience, have you ever seen, or how often do you see an agency? Because like you said, like usually agencies just put out information like universities out there, but have you ever seen, or like how often do you see an agency put out adverts where there are like case studies, like journey of the
See, now
student?
here, this is interesting. Do you know what? There's a very good friend of mine who is based. He has an agency based in Europe, but he's got offices around the world. And his guys in West Africa, I like to watch. I tell you why, right? I like the content they create, because what they do, right, is they will have two people on a short, very quick video reel, two people talking to each other about something, right? About a particular, it could be a university, could be a course, could be something, and it's a little bit comical, but it's nice to look at, and you almost are soaking in the information anyway. And what it does is, for me, it just reminds me of him and his brand. Okay, and that makes me kind of feel, oh yeah, these guys are really good. And I do. It's almost like a guilty pleasure. I'll go and have a look to see what he's got out next. Do you understand? Because it's nice. And you know what, Abir? About 2 or 3 years ago, right? I hosted a session at Boiler. For those people who don't know what Boiler is, it's the Association of British
British
Universities
universities.
International Offices. I hosted a session at Boiler, and we had somebody, a guest at that session, who was talking about stories. You mentioned stories earlier on. I was actually really impressed with what she was doing. She's a content creating specialist, marketing specialist, and she was telling a whole room full of people here, and these are universities that she's talking to, that look, guys, when you're creating content for consumption, the information that you want to put forward, why don't you put that forward in the way of a story? And what she said was interesting, because she said through the ages, human nature is that we like to trade stories. You know, people like to talk to each other about, anytime you meet with your friends, you're thinking, you're digging deep to kind of come up with a nice story, a funny story, interesting story that you're going to share with your friends. Storytelling is something that is inherent in us, which is different from information sharing.
Yeah.
Okay. Sharing information is one thing, storytelling is something else. And storytelling, according to this person, was far more engaging for a person, a student, or whoever you're targeting, and they're likely to react to that story. The question that I struggle with is, how many times have I ever seen, an agent putting out content in the form of a story? I don't see that very often, but the opportunities are there in abundance, right? Because we're
And
actually.
in our industry, like how do you differentiate your marketing campaign from your competitors if you don't do that?
But think about it, right? You're selling a university, right? You're actually promoting a university. Now, you can either take bits from their website or bits from their prospectus and regurgitate that on your platform, or you could actually follow a student, like you said, a case study, follow a student that actually, and it can be done in 1 or 2 minute video, or even a static post, that this particular student, they have gone on to work for company X or company Y. The fact of the matter is that tells the audience something about that university, that if I go to that university, then I will likely to become like that as well. It's a bit like when we see adverts for cars. When we see adverts for cars, I've never seen an advert for a car where the bonnet is open and somebody's showing pictures or talking about some internal workings of the car.
Yeah.
I've never seen an advert like that. You know what I'm
It
saying?
doesn't say how many horsepower does it have.
Yeah,
Is it a
yeah.
V8, V6?
That is in the small print down at the bottom of the advert. The number one focus is the person driving the car. So you
It
got
says
somebody,
relativity,
yeah,
that sense of
or even
belonging. Oh, this could be
even
me.
aspirational. Even aspirational. It's a bit like, you've got a James Bond looking guy driving a car. You understand? That's, got a beautiful landscape that they're driving in, or a nightscape that they're driving in, and it makes you feel like, oh wow, that's a nice car. You
I
know,
remember your story about when you were like looking into like expanding into like a fashion business or something. You talked to
yeah,
one of
that
the
was years
marketing
ago.
agency.
For yeah, that's right. Look, very quickly, I'll tell you the story that, and this came from a university that I was working for at the time. It was for somebody else. They were thinking about going into fashion, and it was it was a kind of like a culturally led kind of fashion item that they were thinking about promoting. And what the university had said to me was, what you want to do is you want to create this into a lifestyle story. And the university, for free, actually, their marketing team put together a storyboard of a potential set of adverts. I'd never even thought about it in that way. That actually, I was thinking more about the cultural significance or the quality of the material, or the workmanship of creating the item. None of that was important. What was important was that it's a lifestyle. Look at the individual wearing that particular garment and being in a particular place, and that made it. And even I was like, oh wow, that looks really good. I can see people wanting to buy that. So it's the same principle, isn't it? That when we're generating content for on behalf of our partner universities to attract students to come to those partner universities, or if we're generating content for our own company to say, come and work with me because I have some expertise, I have zero visa refusals. I mean, stuff like that. I hate that, right? I hate that when, I see an advert for an agency and it says no visa refusals, as if you were going to advertise your visa refusals. Which company has ever gone on there and said, good job, only had,
Well, when I see those ads, I don't know about you, but in my head, it goes like, oh, a postman, like putting a post through your letter and then celebrating in front of,
yeah,
yeah, we
I've
did
done
our
that.
job.
No, but it's almost like, I only had 20 visa refusals this year.
Yes.
Fantastic job. Who would put that on an advert? So what is the point of saying on there that no visa refusals?
Mm.
That's a given, isn't it? That if you're a company that's actually promoting students, then I expect that you don't have any visa refusals.
And especially for UK, where it's a point-based system, a straightforward visa system, you're supposed to have no
Exactly.
visa refusals anyway.
In the first place. But what you could do is talk about an individual, not just an image of a smiling face that he got his visa, but actually something about that guy. That this guy, of course, he's got his visa, but he's about to embark on a journey that's going to get him, a master's degree in X or a bachelor's degree in Y, and he's going to then hopefully go on to a beautiful career, working in X, Y, or Z at this great university. That's a story. That's something that you can talk about, rather than just saying, look at me, I'm brilliant and I don't get any visa refusals. Or even an
And
agency, sorry, just say this, even an agency who actually, wants to promote their own services, think about the best bits of your company and the best bits, what you guys really feel we're really good at, and it could be the really detailed counseling, or the way you're able to manage parents, or the way you're able to, support, put all the financial support in place for a student. Let's create a story about that, or a story of your founder, because most of the founders of a lot of the agents have studied overseas. So it's like, they studied overseas and they came back from overseas and decided, oh, okay, let's set up an agency and let's do business. Why not talk about that? Stories about your counselors. Counselor X studied overseas, or they studied in their home country and they really, want to go overseas, or their cousin went overseas. That inspired them to get into recruitment. I don't know. I mean, there's so many different things that you can talk about. But there is one thing, Abir, that is at the bottom of all of this, and this is something that is a real kind of bugbear for me. Before we create even a single piece of content, where is the planning? Where are the spreadsheets? Where are the spreadsheets, the Gantt charts that are telling us what it is that we're trying to say to our customers? Without that planning, we're just creating content blindly.
and
We're
we're
just
just looking at what other people are doing and just following them. We're not being different from any other.
Well, we're not even being, we don't even know what it is that we're trying to achieve through this content. Because when you add up a 6-month content strategy, content plan, there should be like a episodic story that's going through those 6 months. And if you haven't planned those 6 months ahead of schedule or 12 months ahead of schedule, you don't know what one episode is going to lead on to the next. You're just creating stuff and you're putting that stuff out there.
And if we look at like other industries as well, the industry leaders, when we look at like a normal telly and advert comes up, and the most adverts, I was just doing a like a random like observation last night. Most of the adverts that are top companies, they are relatable. I can picture myself as a character in that ad. Like, oh, this could be me. I could
Yeah.
use this iPhone. I could
Yeah.
use this feature in that app, you know? And that's what I think is the most important thing, to engage with your right audience and make them feel relatable to your campaign.
Absolutely, man. Absolutely. In fact, you know what? Phones is a good one because look, at the end of the day, you know, you could argue the phone was created by some tech guy and it's a technology company that's producing the phone, and they could be really talking to you about their new chipset or the thickness of their glass or the technology that's gone into the camera. They don't do any of that. They show usually some kid, you know, on a skateboard flipping in a skate park, and some other kid taking pictures, and it's like, look, hey, here's the new phone. Do you know what I mean? You know, they don't go into the detail. Yet we are on our adverts. Often what I see is we're talking about so many scholarships available. You know, IELTS, 6.0 is all that's required, or no IELTS waivers on certain particular courses. This type of advertising is so one-dimensional. It's so, bland. Whereas people who are doing, kind of story-based, kind of relatable, like you're talking about, relatable type of content, that then becomes something that, people might take seriously. They might think, oh, wow, that's quite good. And I think the other thing is variety, variety. Don't have the same type of advert going. If you just do videos all the time, for example, then that can get a little bit boring. People can become blind to your videos. Do some
But
videos.
if you make those like relatable, engaging, like static posts or like reels or whatever you make, then your organic reach also goes out because people will be hooked up. Like you said, that European company which has offices like in different, like you just like randomly, subconsciously,
You're
you feel
looking
like,
out.
oh,
Yeah,
looking
you're
out
looking
like,
out
oh, what are they going to come up with next? And
next.
then that
Yeah.
builds your brand and presence in the market, and people get to know you. And when they think about going abroad, they will like, oh, let's contact them. I have
Yeah,
been
let's get
following
in
them
touch
for a
with
few
these guys.
years now.
You know what I mean? Yeah, absolutely. Listen, Abir, look, it's 23 minutes in, man. This is a topic. I think it's a useful topic, guys. I think it's something that we're all getting more. We're finding sophisticated tools to use for content creation. Gone are the days when you needed an entire team of people to create content from a studio. Right now, you can create content on your desktop, right? There are so many different tools, there's AI and all sorts that you can use. I think what we need to think about is how we're then using those tools to create something. And my feeling is plan it, get a storyboard together, plan the next 6 months, have some, spreadsheets that are telling you, okay, I'm going to release this by then this and then this. And then you can start your content creation. And I think it makes it very clear. And if you have that persona in mind, or the several personas that you're aiming to target, on a very basic level, your undergrad, postgrad are two different personas. That actually targeting those personas with the right kind of content, I think is going to, like you said, make you much more efficient. You're going to end up, getting better leads coming through your door, more engaged students, which ultimately leads to more enrollments. Look, we're going to have to close the conversation here. I need to say that, that the agent box comes to you thanks to Sam CRM. Sam CRM is an agent designed CRM. In fact, I'm going to say it's not even a CRM. What it is, it's a student application management system. It takes your lead right the way through to enrollment. All the stages of the student journey is mapped through on Sam CRM. Sam CRM is going to be at ISEF Berlin, next month. Come along, have a chat. But it's check it out. Go on their website. or send them an email at sales@samscrm.co.uk. Have a look at samcrm.co.uk, and you can find out a little bit more. And hopefully, you can investigate, get in touch with them. With that said, that's it, Abir. I will see you next week, buddy. And in the meantime, happy content creation.
Happy content creation. See you next week.
All right, see you later, guys. Take care. Bye now.